Hi, and welcome to another episode of PDA Dad UK. And in this episode, I want to look at special events. We've had a couple of special events in my house over the last few weeks. We've had Father's Day, followed by my daughter's birthday, which was a couple of days ago. And birthdays and just special events in general get really tricky. There's just a heightened buzz around everything. And we've seen it with any number of events. So, Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthdays, Christmas. Christmas is a huge one, and I'll talk about that a bit separately in a little bit. But there are just times that we've noticed that behaviours and anxiety are just massively increased. So I want to go into that and look at what creates that and how we can work around it to make these days better for everybody, I hope. And it's still kind of stumbled across in this year's events because of lockdown and everything that's going on, and the ability for us to do things that we would normally do, and realizing that maybe we're actually triggering some of these things just by doing the things that we do with the birthday or whatever. Birthdays in the past, we've always really struggled. My daughter has high anxiety, and I've used the illustration of a glass that's constantly filling and emptying, which we all have inside us, which is our ability to maintain our emotions. And as that glass gets full, we get closer and closer to the surface, and once it hits the surface, then it all spills over. So for myself, my glass is sort of emptying and filling all through the day. There's, and it's only if I'm in a particularly stressful situation that it all spills over the edge. For my daughter, it's almost always close to the top, almost always full. And as soon as something happens that is going to add more to that glass, it all spills over. So it spills over more regularly and also more violently. And in a previous episode, I spoke to Ben Oldroyd about his autism and dealing with that. And he uses the same analogy, but one of the points he made was that it's a mistake we can make also to assume everybody has the same size cup. So what we're actually able to deal with in each individual person is going to be different by the capacity of the cup that we hold within us. I think my daughter has a small cup, and it's almost always very full. So obviously you get these outbursts, meltdowns, and just lashings of emotion that come with her condition, autism and PDA. We experienced this on Father's Day, and I've come to understand part of it's masking. So I again talked in previous episodes about masking and how that affects kids. Just a brief rundown of that is basically that a lot of autistic people, and it seems to be especially prevalent in girls, but it can happen with either boys or girls, is masking. And masking is when you they cover up their difficulties. They'll repress it, and it's been likened to a Coke bottle. So when they're masking, all their energy is going into appearing to be coping and not to be under any extra anxiety. They're bottling it all down. It's all being pressed in. The Coke bottle's being shaken all day. You get it at schools, and then at the end of the day, they get home, they get out of school, they get out of the situation they're in, the mask drops, the Coke bottle opens, and it all comes exploding out of the top. And on Father's Day, I realised my daughter was masking really heavily. She wanted to give me a really special day, and that means a lot as a dad. She wanted to make sure that my day was as good as it could be, but it could only last so long. So all day long, she was sort of pushing down that increased anxiety, that increased stress, that excitement. So it doesn't have to be a negative emotion that fills these things. It can be a positive one as well, but how they deal with it is what they find challenging. And for her, she was excited. She wanted to make my day special, but she kept on pushing it down. And I could see it by the end of the day. And you can see the trigger warnings as she gets into that zone where a meltdown's coming. And she couldn't maintain it any longer, and that's when we triggered into that sort of meltdown mode, and the controlling behaviours really came to the surface as well as that went on. it's a real challenge, and there's a temptation to think to yourself, oh, that's the whole day ruined. But I think as parents of autistic kids, I think parents of any child that has extra needs, and parents in general, you're all going to have those days, you learn to realise that you can't write a whole day off over one period of time within the day. And being able to look back and think, you know what, she was trying so hard to make my day special, to make it a really good Father's Day. That's kind of what led to her having a meltdown in the afternoon. And we went through a couple of hours of real stress and challenge. And it was because she was trying to make my day special that it led to that. So one thing I've learned from that is, in future, I want to make sure that she's just being herself on the day. And if she's upset or stressed, being able to give her opportunities to let that out. It's a challenging thing to do because she wants to make the day special. It's actually a desire within her. It's an inability to maintain that. That's what causes these issues, the meltdowns and the struggles that she has. So somehow allowing her to know that she can express these things during the day. If she's upset, if she's feeling tense, hey, let's go outside, let's play on the trampoline. I have a boxing bag which I use, and she occasionally comes out with me and has a bit of a bash on it. Not not majorly hard. It's quite funny watching her, and she sort of has these really gentle little pushes. She's not quite at the point where she realises she could really just lay into it, and it's an okay thing to do. But there are things that we can do to help through the day maintain that. And it came about on her birthday, so this was a couple of days ago, and she had a really good day. We were prepared for the worst. Previous experience of birthdays has shown that actually generally they're a really, really hard day. Because of lockdown this year and COVID, and I mean, I know we've moved past lockdown now, but there's still a lot of restrictions in place. It means we can't have things like parties and stuff like that. It was a much more relaxed affair just because it had to be. We'd got one banner which we had up, happy birthday, which we had sort of under the television. And we'd kind of started proceedings the night before. We'd realised that we wanted to keep sugar levels down. My daughter, we know, reacts really badly to sugar, and especially to chocolate. We try and keep them out of the house. We don't have... I'm on a constant weight loss drive, and so I don't keep sugar for myself. I have sweeteners, and the rest of the house, we don't really use sugar in anything. So we just don't keep sugar in the house. We avoid sweets where we can. But by the same token, we want her to enjoy a day. So we had the cake the night before. And there was a reason for this, was that we could have the cake and then she could have a later night. So that was part of the treat. She was able to stay up and have some special time with us. And then we were able to sort of take her up to bed. So it allowed that sugar intake before we were really calming things down. So it kind of kept it in balance, allowing her the later night, but we'd given her melatonin later on, but so it was still there. So her body was starting to kick into that nighttime routine. And then we were really clear, look, you know your presents, we've got them. What we don't want is for you to come and open them all. We have a shocking situation where she inherits it from my wife. My wife will get really annoyed that I said that. But my wife is dreadful with surprises. And if she has a chance to sort of poke or look at something and find out what it is beforehand, she will. My daughter is exactly the same. She can't help herself. She'll raid cupboards and anything, trying to find what's there ready, because the excitement's there and she wants to know. We managed to keep things pretty well under wraps, and we'd found a new hiding spot that we could put them in. So she actually didn't get to come down in the morning and just have everything open by the time we got down and be in that real sort of buzzy mood. And that allowed us to make the day calmer as well. We all came down, made coffee, sat down and brought her presents in, and then she was able to open them. And we hadn't gone nuts with presents this year either, so we had a few nicer presents rather than that sort of mishmash of loads of tat, and that way she's really enjoyed the present she's got. That's another thing we noticed, was that she's really focused on those few things she got and really likes them and is using them. And there were some vouchers and stuff there, and so we were able to sort of take her shopping, and we did that online for the most part. So my daughter's, she's hit 10, and so the whole sort of being pretty and stuff like that's starting to come into play. We don't big it up. It's one of those things that, you know, we tell her she's beautiful all the time because she's beautiful, but she's starting to pay attention to that kind of stuff. And the idea of it's through her school they've been sort of focusing on makeup and things because it's something that she is very creative with and she enjoys, and so allowing that in is something that's helped her. So we were able to go online and order a few things, and that meant that they weren't coming on the day, which meant that it was making it a bit longer, but it also wasn't just this sort of explosion of loads of things at once, because those vouchers were able to be used, and then she was able to, you know, she had to wait for those things to arrive. And we had the few things that were there that enabled her to, you know, open and focus on those things. And it was a really good thing. She was home on that day. So my daughter's school are doing it that they've got 4 days a week, not 5 days a week, in order to maximise social distancing and things like that with her school. So she has the Tuesdays off, and that's what she had off. So my son was at school, so that was actually a help to us as well, by not allowing them to sort of hype each other up in a way. That helped keep things a lot calmer as well. And we got through the day, and there's that sort of nervous anticipation that you try not to show, but it's there of, you know, when's it going to kick in, when's it going to kick off. But we were really alert to the triggers and the warning signs, and we were able to act really quickly. So when we saw that she was getting wound up, so well, let's go and do something, take her into a different space or whatever. And thankfully, you know, we did go out. We were able to. She had some money, so we just went to pick up a couple of bits. We just managed to keep the whole day a lot calmer. And I think that was really the key. Something that I find, I know I do, and so I kind of see it in most other parents, and especially parents of extra needs kids, special needs kids. I project onto my daughter what would be my want for the day. So if it's my birthday, I want that attention, and I want people to be, you know, hey, it's Duncan, hey, here's this present, you know, we're doing this for you today, we're going to go and do this, we make it an exciting thing, whatever the case may be. We managed to tone it back, just not having balloons everywhere, which is something we've done in the past as well. All these things that you don't think about at the time, it's just that's what we want for our birthday. That's what I want as a 10-year-old. I want balloons, and I want to come down and just be a really, hey, happy birthday, and everyone paying attention, and hyping up. By not doing that, purely by accident, it was just sort of the way it happened, but it's something that I've been able to sort of debrief myself on and look back to and think, these were some key things. She really enjoyed her day. She enjoyed it more than if I'd made the huge fuss that we generally make. And that really, really helped to keep her emotional cup from overflowing. And she was able to contain it. And it leads me on to Christmas in particular. Christmas is a period we really, really struggle with. And I'm not sure how to totally deal with it. I'm interested to see what this year brings in, because we've obviously going to have COVID's still going to be around. There's going to be a different atmosphere to Christmas this year. But whenever you go out for Christmas, you know, in that period, it's worse. Being Australian, in Australia, it's dreadful because they don't do Halloween in Australia. It's there, but it's not a big deal like it is in the UK and in the US and whatever. So basically, from September onwards, the stores will start stocking Christmas stuff and pushing Christmas because it's the next big event. Here in the UK, thankfully, we get to wait till sort of November really before they start really pushing Christmas and all that buzz starts. But everywhere you go, there's this extra excitement. Every shopping centre, every shop has a Santa. They've all got the decorations up. There's flashing lights. There's Christmas music everywhere, all the way, blaring from speakers. Everyone has this extra tension. It's constantly asking, oh, what are you wanting from Christmas this year? What's Father Christmas going to bring you this year? And it's all this excitement that builds and builds and builds, and they're at school, and the schools are all talking about it because everybody celebrates it at the same time. It's not like a birthday where everybody has a different birthday, and if you find somebody who has the same birthday as you, it's like, oh wow, you got the same birthday as me. Everyone celebrates Christmas at the same time. Everyone goes through this, so it's this mass raising of anxiety and stress that we kind of, it's the frog in a pot. I don't know if you've ever heard this analogy, but how do you boil a frog? Well, you don't just put it in boiling water, it's going to jump out. What you've got to do is put it in cold water and then slowly heat it. And we just go through it. It's just the routine that we have every year. Christmas hits and you get all this extra stuff, and it's a fun time and it's a wonderful time. But for a person who's dealing with high anxiety already, it's actually a really challenging time. And I mean, we know for people who are lonely and people who have suffered loss and things like that, Christmas can be a real challenge. That comes into it as well. But it's that general excitement, that general buzz, and it's a wonderful thing. But when you're dealing with high anxiety already, it's just when that cup's feeling fuller, that's when it's going to start overflowing more and more and more. And the day of Christmas, of course, it comes, and then it's presents everywhere, and you've got your decorations up and flashing lights, you've got your Christmas tree, everything on TV is about Christmas, all the kids shows are about Christmas, and it is just this big ball of anxiety and stress and fun and wonderfulness. But when you're dealing with these things at a diminished capacity to actually cope with it, it's going to lead to major issues, and especially for kids. And we see it with every kid, 3 o'clock on a Christmas day, they're all sort of crashing or a bit stroppy. There's more sugar, there's loads of treats and stuff like that. It's a really hard thing to cope with. So it's one thing that I'm sort of looking at as we're coming up this year. We're more than halfway through the year now, we're coming into the second half, and it really isn't that far off that we're going to be dealing with Christmas. I want to make Christmas special, but I want to make it special in a way that means it's special for my daughter as well, and not just something to look back on and thought, I had another meltdown that day, I couldn't cope, I couldn't deal with it, and that's what gets remembered. So I'm not sure how to do that. Please do comment with any tips that you've found. If you've got any ideas of things that you've done which have helped make Christmas manageable. We're going to think that probably this year, tone down the decorations in the house. We'll have something quite simple, nice, and it will be Christmas. But I'm not going to be putting loads of flashing lights up. We've got a tree, and that's got the optical fibre sort of thing that we use in there. So it's pretty without it being overwhelming. It's not flashing. It's actually this kind of quite gentle, soothing light that comes from it, which has been a real bonus as well. But we're not going to, I think, keep trying to talk about it and try and keep it minimised as to it's Christmas, it's a wonderful thing, we're going to have a wonderful day, but within reason. And then on the day, try and keep it contained as well, not so many presents. Maybe we'll try and hide someone's somewhere, and we can maybe make it last over a couple of days rather than all being at once and all sort of explosion in the morning. So to sort of sum it up, what I really want to get across is this idea that because a meltdown's happened on a day doesn't mean the whole day's ruined. We experience it, we move on. There's something to be said about just holding on to the good things and letting the negatives slide. It can be really hard to do when you've got someone who's kicking, biting and throwing things, but being able to put it in perspective and appreciate that our kids are enjoying themselves, even when we think it would be so much nicer if they were able to do it this way, if they were able to play with other kids more and stuff like that. If they're happy in their own little world, that's a really good thing. And we need to understand that. It's taken me a long time to appreciate that myself. that if she's doing what she wants to do and she's happy, that's good. And I don't need to change that. So keeping things calmer and just letting her do her thing really has helped. So I really do want your feedback. This is something that, you know, we are coming into that period where we're going to start building up to these things, and I'm sure we've all got birthdays and other bits and pieces that are coming up that are going to be potential anxiety magnets. So how do you deal with it? Have you found any tricks with your kids that you've been able to use to make those days more special and to avoid the anxiety and stress and meltdowns that come along with it? Please do comment, please do like this, please do subscribe to my channel. It all helps push this message out there that autism can be amazing and that we all have a role to play in it, especially as parents, what we can do to be supporting each other and to make our lives, our children's lives better than they are at the moment. That's my sort of mantra. How do we make tomorrow better than today for our kids? Thank you, and I'll see you next time.